National Rifle Association officials dismissed calls for stricter gun control on Friday during their annual convention, which is taking place in Houston, a city less than 300 miles from the Texas school shooting that claimed the lives of 19 children and two adults earlier in the week. NRA head Wayne LaPierre told his group's members that the Uvalde mass shooting should never happen again, but rejected gun control proposals, calling gun ownership a fundamental human right. His remarks indicate that Tuesday's massacre has done nothing to shift the group's long-standing opposition to any gun restrictions, including expanded background checks and a ban on assault-style weapons. Restricting the fundamental human right of law-abiding Americans to defend themselves is not the answer. It never has been, LaPierre said. Instead, LaPierre called for additional security at schools, changes to the criminal justice system, and new funding to fix our nation's broken mental health system to stop future school shootings. We need to protect our schools because our children deserve at least, and in fact, more protection than our banks, stadiums, and government buildings, so that every school has a comprehensive security program tailored specifically to that school to meet its security needs. Over a pre recorded video message to NRA members, Texas Governor Greg Abbott reiterated talking points from NRA officials that new gun laws will not prevent individuals from breaking the law. There are thousands of laws in the books across the country that limit the owning or using of firearms, laws that have not stopped madmen from carrying out evil acts on innocent people in peaceful communities, Abbott said. Event speakers stressed that they won't soften their position opposing restrictions. Jason Clement, executive director of the NRA's lobbying arm, told supporters that the group will ensure that its pro-gun message remains prominent during the 2022 midterms. Now is not the time to quit. Now would be the worst time to quit. Now is when we will double down, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem told NRA members. Outside of the NRA event, thousands of protesters rallied against the influential gun group and called on Abbott to step down. The devastating school shooting has sparked a chorus of calls for tougher gun restrictions that the NRA have long lobbied GOP lawmakers to break. So, this is kind of difficult to unpack because there's a lot of stuff that can be said here. I guess first we'll talk about the fundamental human right part. Okay, so from what I've seen, a majority of Democratic lawmakers, at least the ones in Congress currently, are not calling for banning all guns or anything that has to do with just abolishing the Second Amendment. Right? It's no one involved in left-wing politics in a capacity that could be considered influential supports doing that. But what a lot of us can't understand is why a human being, a regular civilian, needs a semi-automatic weapon. Um, I guess what bothers me is that there are so many guns which are a lot less lethal and can still do the same thing, just not at this accelerated rate. To where when I see LaPierre and his cronies not mentioned at their NRA meeting, I can only be convinced that the real reason they just don't want any laws passed that restrict gun ownership, even if it's a specific weapon that is proven to be a constant and recurring theme of these different shootings, is because they want money. They just that's the only reason you would oppose having a problem with getting rid of a weapon that regular civilians do not need to protect themselves. You heard in the an article, like, it was, this weapon was bought at a hunter store. Like, what? Why does he need that to defend himself? Why can't he just get a regular gun? An AR-15 to defend yourself? This enormous rifle? But anyways, let's look at some of the other stuff here. So, a lot of people on the right wing, when they want to obfuscate from the issue of these crazy people using a specific dangerous type of gun to commit their acts, will tell you, oh, we just need to worry about mental health and have better things in place for mental health. And yeah, mental health, mental health, mental health. It's like, well, this shooter, from what I've been told and from what I've been reading, had no recorded history of having mental health issues. Um, so I don't know how just having, but you know what? Let's also say this: if the NRA came out and said we don't want any new gun laws, but here's what we'll do: we'll fundraise for additional security at schools. Because remember, this meeting is not that far away from where the shooting took place. We're gonna have we're gonna campaign for like universal mental health care for all, so everybody can go and talk to a therapist whenever they want, or some other person has to be confidential in terms of being someone they can go to and discuss things that are bothering them in some very depressing way. Like at least if they did that, even if it's still stupid that they're obsessed with keeping laws in place to where anyone can just get any type of gun no matter what, I could say, okay, well, at least they're attempting to seem as if they give half of a damn about what happened. To like pledge to fundraise and actually contribute to protecting children. But that wasn't proposed. And what's exactly going to happen after this meeting is over. They all go back to their little, you know, um, gun promoting ways, and just the only time you see them actually talk about the potential consequences of the lawlessness of their proposals is when some innocent people get murdered. Um, I'm laughing at Abbott's recorded statement. There are thousands of laws on the books across the country that limit the owning or use of firearms. Laws that have not stopped madmen from carrying out evil acts on innocent people. And here's what really gets me, right? Um, and we've discussed this before. I live in California, a state with a lot of gun laws. If I wanted a firearm, all I have to do is buy a car or use somebody else's car. I've got people that I can ask them to use a car, drive somewhere. Drive to the neighboring state of Arizona and pick up a gun. And then bring it back here. And then all the laws that they've passed to try and limit it go right out the window. The thing is, laws are generally not effective when they're state to state. I mean, look at same-sex marriage and how fractured the U.S. was with that, where you can't get married to another person of the same gender in Arizona. Time to go drive up to California. So when you have state laws, you're going to always face the issue of someone can still do this if they just go to another state. And that's something the NRA doesn't like to mention because it pokes a hole in their narrative. Because they like state laws. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get away with doing stuff like this. But I just don't understand this, and we'll cap this off by reading one more thing as we wrap this up. There's an article I found, because I still will never understand why people are so obsessed with having semi-automatic guns. Like you can just have a regular gun. You don't need to have one that just fires off a whole. Like it's stupid. But anyways, the point these people are making is that if you ban this one gun, it's not going to stop somebody from getting another gun. But I think when someone can recognize a pattern of the same type of gun being involved in these different shootings over and over and over again, maybe the people who are supposedly restricting gun rights and trying to take away our guns, maybe they just want to get rid of this one particular firearm that has tended to be more dangerous than the other ones. So this article says that the AR-15 style weapon, AR-15 style guns, have been used in the Stoneman Douglas school shooting, the Las Vegas shooting where that madman went and shot up that concert and killed 50-something people, the Sutherland Springs church shooting where 26 people died, the Pulse nightclub shooting where 49 people were murdered, the San Bernardino shooting, and the Sandy Hook shooting. Which I said before that the events of Tuesday were literally a remake of Sandy Hook, where a bunch of small children and a teacher or two are murdered by some young person that has a weapon that allows them to do something like this. So all I'm conveying is people who want gun control, at least prominent lawmakers, No one is talking about getting rid of all guns, getting rid of all firearms. A lot of us just want to get rid of AR-15s. I will never understand why regular civilians who are not planning something nefarious like killing a whole bunch of innocent people back to back to back need a gun that can fire off that many shots very quickly. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think when you look at a pattern like that, the same weapon being used over and over, maybe it's time to get rid of it if you actually want to protect people. Which again, the NRA, if they were serious, I mentioned before, they would want to get rid of at least that particular gun from civilian use. Regular people don't need a gun like that. And they would also actually push for the stuff that they claim they support. Oh, we need more mental health programs in the U.S. Are you going to fundraise for it? Are you going to advocate for it? Nope. Just going to say that so we can obfuscate from the fact that we will let anyone have any type of gun as long as we can make a quick buck.